In the quiet of the night, as shadows danced under the flickering torchlight, a story of fear, failure, and incredible forgiveness was about to unfold. It's a story that reminds us that even in our weakest moments, we are not beyond redemption. The air was thick with tension. Jesus, the teacher and friend, had just been arrested. His disciples, once bold and full of faith, were now scattered, gripped by fear. Among them was Peter, the one who had so confidently declared he would never abandon his master. He had even drawn a sword to defend Jesus just hours before. But now, as the reality of the situation sank in, a cold dread began to seep into his heart. Driven by a mix of loyalty and fear, Peter followed the group that had taken Jesus, keeping his distance. He slipped into the courtyard of the high priest, a place buzzing with soldiers and servants, all huddled around a crackling fire for warmth. Peter blended in, hoping to go unnoticed, his face hidden by the dancing flames and the darkness. He just wanted to see what would happen to Jesus, his heart pounding in his chest with every passing moment. As he warmed his hands by the fire, a servant girl looked at him closely. Her eyes narrowed in the dim light. "You were with him," she said, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the courtyard. "You were with Jesus of Galilee." Suddenly, all eyes were on Peter. The warmth of the fire turned into an uncomfortable heat. Panic seized him. His mind raced. Admitting the truth could mean arrest or worse. "I don't know what you're talking about," Peter blurted out, his voice louder than he intended. He tried to sound convincing, but his own words fell foreign in his mouth. He quickly turned away, moving towards the gateway, hoping to escape the girl's accusing gaze and the attention he had drawn. He just wanted to disappear, to melt back into the shadows. But the escape was short-lived. At the gateway, another girl saw him and announced to the people standing there, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth." The circle of suspicion tightened around him. Again, the question hung in the air, demanding an answer. Peter felt the walls closing in. The fear was a physical thing now, a knot in his stomach, a dryness in his throat. He denied it again, this time with more force, even swearing an oath to back up his lie. "I don't know the man," he insisted. Each word was a betrayal, not just of Jesus, but of himself, of the man he thought he was. He looked at the faces around him, searching for any sign of belief, but all he saw were curious and suspicious eyes. He felt utterly alone, isolated by his own fear. A little while later, some of the bystanders who had heard the exchanges approached him. One of them, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off earlier that night, looked at him intently. "Didn't I see you in the garden with him?" he asked. Another person added, "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." They were closing in. There was no escape. Trapped and terrified, Peter's resolve completely crumbled. He began to curse and swear, his voice filled with desperation. "I tell you, I do not know the man." It was his third denial. A raw, panicked lie born from pure terror. He had completely disowned the person he loved and followed, the one he had promised to die for. And just at that moment, as the last lie left his lips, a rooster crowed. The sound pierced the night, sharp and clear. It cut through Peter's panic and hit him like a physical blow. In that instant, everything stopped. The world went silent, and Jesus' words from just hours before echoed in his mind, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." Through the crowd, Peter's eyes met Jesus's. Jesus was being led away, but for a brief moment, he turned and looked directly at Peter. It wasn't a look of anger or disappointment. It was a look of profound sadness, of understanding, and perhaps of compassion. That look broke Peter's heart into a million pieces. The full weight of what he had done crashed down on him. The boastful promises, the passionate declarations, all shattered by 3 moments of fear. He was a failure, a coward, a traitor. Overwhelmed by a tidal wave of shame and regret, Peter stumbled out of the courtyard and into the darkness. Alone, he wept bitterly. His tears weren't just for his failure, but for the pain he must have caused his friend. For days, Peter was lost in his grief. The man he had followed was gone, and he was left with the haunting memory of his own betrayal. He felt unworthy, broken, and completely hopeless. How could he ever be forgiven for something so terrible? He returned to what he knew before Jesus, his fishing boat. He tried to lose himself in the familiar work, but the emptiness remained. But the story doesn't end there. This is where it transforms from a tale of failure into a powerful story of grace. After his resurrection, Jesus appeared to his disciples. One morning, by the Sea of Galilee, he sought out Peter. He didn't come with condemnation or judgment. He came with a question, a gentle and restorative question. As they sat by a charcoal fire eerily similar to the one in the courtyard, Jesus asked him, "Peter, do you love me?" He asked this not once, but 3 times. One question for each denial. It wasn't a test, it was an invitation. An invitation for Peter to replace his 3 denials with 3 affirmations of love. With each question, Peter's heart ached, but his answer grew stronger. "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He wasn't the same boastful man from before. He was humble, broken, but his love was real. And with each affirmation, Jesus gave him a command: feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. Jesus wasn't just forgiving Peter, he was restoring him. He was giving him a purpose again. He was telling Peter that his failure did not define him. His past did not disqualify him from a future of service. Jesus saw beyond the denial and saw the heart of a man who truly loved him. He was reinstating Peter not as a perfect follower, but as a forgiven leader who would now understand grace on a deeply personal level. This incredible act of forgiveness transformed Peter. The fearful man who denied his friend became the bold apostle who would stand before crowds and proclaim the name of Jesus without fear. He became the rock upon which the church was built, a testament to the fact that our greatest failures can become the foundation for our greatest strengths when they are met with grace. Peter's story is our story. We've all had moments of weakness, times when fear made us say or do things we regret. We've all felt the sting of failure and the weight of shame. But Peter's journey from a courtyard of denial to a beach of restoration shows us that there is no failure so great that it can separate us from love and forgiveness. It's a powerful reminder that our stories don't have to end in our worst moments. Forgiveness is always possible, and restoration is always waiting. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the depths of faith and the power of redemption. See you in the next video.